Who made that for you?
I did that. I do all my
Oh,
everything.
you did? That was hot.
Yeah.
That
You
was
like
hot. I
that?
like it.
See?
Yeah, I like the
I'm a
song.
little
I like the
creative, a
song
little something,
selection.
something. So Naeem is a Sagittarius. You like long walks in the park and rubbing feet. That's how we met you.
Yeah, you know the show. You know, you talked to my man Hussein, so you know the show is like crazily edited. So my first initial introduction, I was dry. I was like, they was like, "Come on, Naeem," and I was like, "What?" They was like, "Come on, Naeem, you don't got nothing else to say." I'm like, "What you want me to say?" I'm a Sagittarius. I like long walks in the park, and I like rubbing feet. And they took that and they put that right in there.
I feel like that's something I would have done. I like that. I like that they did that.
Yeah, no, that was
So
cool
what
because
brought you
it
to the
really
show?
fit. It was an invite. I think I was referred to from someone that is, close to the agency, and I got a text one day and asked me how would I like to be on the show Ready to Love, and I responded yes because I thought it was a podcast and I thought it was an opportunity for me to go talk and speak and share. And when they sent me an email, I looked. It was OWN Network and season 10, and I'm like, what? Oprah's network. Then I Googled it and saw that it was a show that was around for a minute. And I just did a little research first and I saw that it was like a mature dating show. So I agreed to do it. I was in a space of dating in a healthy space. So I said, why not? Great opportunity, be on TV, meet new people, and who knows what happens. I didn't, not go in there not expecting not to find anybody because I said, what if I go in there and find somebody? You'll see. But I would initially never signed up for that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I would have never auditioned for that. Other people. Like, the crazy part was once the show aired, a lot of people that I know started like DMing me or hitting me saying, "Yo, I auditioned," or they never got back to me, or I was like, wow, So it was a great opportunity. So I'm not gonna belittle it, but I didn't. It was a text message, and I said yes.
I mean, that's wild. Um, I feel like, it's a game. Um, when you say do your research, how much of it did you watch? What was your research like?
So it was two-part research. Good question. So in the beginning, I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, nephew Tommy, I know him from the Steve Harvey Morning Show." Um, I kind of just breezed through it to see if it was fighting and cursing and any ratchet stuff going on. I didn't see any of that, so I was like, "Oh," and then I kind of fast forward to the outcome of the show, and then I fast forward to the reunion, and I was like, "Oh, it's a you know, and then I'm like, it's Oprah's network. They're not going to let them throw champagne at each other." So that's when I initially agreed to do it. But then once the show started and I started seeing how the flow of things was, because you see, I was up for elimination from the beginning. So when I was up for elimination, that very first
Hmm.
episode, I went right back to the tapes. Like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Let me see how this is done, because I didn't have an idea of the format of the show, but I had an idea of how the overall show objective was. You know what I mean? So it was a two-part research.
You got to watch the show. Did you know about like all the stuff that, well, I mean, if you didn't watch the show, like afterwards, that people talk about their experience is always, oh my God, I didn't know they were going to edit me that way.
Oh,
And you know what I'm saying? And then you have all of us over here talking all kinds of smack from what we see.
listen. So I take that back. It was a three-part research. I take that back because once I once I finished filming, I think I dived back and went and watched a lot of the old seasons and watched a lot of reviews and watched how people's perception was and their experience. And I was like, okay, cool, because I had people hitting me up from previous seasons. I had people calling, reaching out to me from previous seasons, saying what their experience was like, and how they didn't like how they were edited and how the show made them look. And for me, I knew in my heart that I got to fully be myself. However they edited it, was fine. I was here for that, right? Can't control that part, but I knew I was fully authentically myself when it came with the women, the men, the people behind the scenes, and that was one of the reasons why I really agreed to do it, because you got to be yourself. It wasn't scripted. It's not like they told me who to be. You know what I mean? And I love being myself, so it was like, fair game. So, but yeah, once I went back and seen it and saw everybody's reviews and seen how some people capitalized off of it, some people kind of just let it be, or whatever the case may have been. Everybody had their own experience, and like, you can't make nobody wrong for their experience. But for me, it was like, you're not going to project that energy on me, because I had a great effing experience, like, from the women to the men to, like I said, even the producers and directors and everybody behind scenes. They made it so comfortable, from the food to just the overall experience of making us feel safe. So for me.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you're being your authentic self, that makes it a lot better. When I review the shows, I tend to be a little bit snarky. I try to be a little bit funny.
Y'all was
At
cooking
the
me.
same time,
Y'all was cooking me.
I feel like most of the guys have a thick skin.
Y'all was cooking me. You and the
I
other
don't
two
feel
women,
like I necessarily
the
cooked you.
other two women, I felt like you probably took it easy on me. I seen that. I don't want y'all to think I ain't see that shit. I saw it. I was like, oh, who are these little women with their own opinions? Where they from? Right? But you know, I think you there. I think after the date with Tay is when y'all started raising your eyebrows, and I was like, see, right? You guys were judging me, but see,
Well,
honestly,
no,
this is,
because I'm going to say
but no, listen, honestly, I
you
understood.
definitely got to go back and pay attention because I really didn't cook
No, no,
you.
no, 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 no. I said you were the more lenient one. I said you were the more lenient one. I did say that. You kind of kept it. You kind of kept it like, I need to see more. They were like, get him out of here. Get him. I was like, and listen. I literally sat there and was like, oh my god, they are cooking me, right? And I watched a lot of stuff, but I was sitting there like, wow. But I love how y'all did give people like the benefit of the doubt, and then also started like, once things started unfolding, like after the date with Tay, it was like, oh, all right, you know what I mean? All right, Mr. Naeem, Mr. Five Kids, but and like they said, they still didn't know like baby mom situation. Like I said, the show was heavily edited, so it wasn't like I was on there like, hey, ladies, I got 5 kids, 3 baby moms, I got a lot of shit going on. No, it was like,
Right,
my kids are
right.
older. I got other, I got two that live in Georgia. Um, the part where they asked me about, is there any problems, or I think I said it used to be problematic. In that part, in that conversation with me and Kiera, shouts to Kiera, that's my homie. I told her, back in the day, my two oldest is 20 and 18, right? Back in the day when I wasn't being the man that I needed to be for my children, it came with problems. You understand what I'm saying? So it was like, when I wasn't being who I needed to be
Mhm.
as a man, of course, my baby mom flipping. And if she's not personally developed, we going at it. And it's like, that's where that came from. I take full ownership of that. When I later on, and when I started realizing that, it was like, okay, we had these two children. Now, next relationship, I'm trying to be something different. I'm not in the streets. I don't want to go back to prison, but I don't know how to really survive without these things. And now I'm losing myself in this relationship, because this woman is established, college grad, master's degree, you know, um, but really need me to step up to be a man in the relationship. And I just don't know how. We end up having 2 children. You understand what I'm saying? And it wasn't until my final child, right, when I had five with the three, it wasn't that it was like, oh, um, I have a soft spot for single moms. It was, listen, I did a lot of work, and my kids' moms will let you know that I came a long way. Even when I was in a relationship, my previous relationship that I was in before the show, my kid's mom would tell her, we never had this side of Naeem. Like we never, they call me Goldie. My nickname is Gold. They said we never had this side of Gold. We never had this side of Naeem. Like he's always been this, but who he is now, he's never been this responsible, this attentive, this, and it's been years of me doing this, practicing, becoming a better human. Because, like I said, I might have made poor choices in the past that led me in prison, but I always was a good guy, a good dude that probably meant well, just didn't know how. And you've seen, not making excuses, but I had a lot of layers to peel back that I didn't know about in my 20s. You know what I mean? That I carried with me. I didn't start getting my shit
Well,
together
let's
till
talk
I.
about that.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, because I'll start talking.
That's okay, because I mean, that's what, when I saw your podcast, I got a whole, I was like, okay, wait, I have, got to talk to him, because this is a whole different picture than I was getting, you know what I mean, and getting to understand,
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
asking questions like who they are, and you exposed it, you let it all out there, so I respect that. So what was it like for you growing up in Philly, without giving it up, because I want everybody to go over there and look at your podcast to see like the whole story, but
Hmm.
you know, what was
Well,
that like for you up until
I mean,
teenage
honestly,
years?
I could honestly, if I paint like a great picture, like my mother and father did the best that they could raising me. I always say that. My mom, Christmases, everything, GI Joes, she laced me. Uh, video games, had all the video games, endless clothes. I had a go kart. My mom spoiled me with so many things. And I used to have friends that were jealous, not like envious, but like wish that they had these things. But growing up, my mother and father always argued. My mother always kicked my father out the house. And they never really could get along in a healthy way, even though they loved each other. Their way of loving was just wow, right? But at 11 years old, my mother and father brought me inside of their bedroom, and I was in the room playing a video game, and they brought me in the room and told me that, and this was my first time ever in life seeing my father cry. My father, if you ever see pictures of my father, he's dark skinned, he's very old school, he comes from the gang war era, like really one of those guys. He was balling, him and my mother. And I just remembered being confused when they told me, like, hey, we're not your real mother and father. You're about to meet your real mother in family court. And your biological father is your Uncle Vince that's been coming around all this time. So right then and there was immediate confusion. But I thought in that moment, this was my question. I said, am I leaving y'all? Like, cause you know what I mean? I'm like, so what are you saying? I gotta, like, what is
Right.
it up? Is this the jig is up? And she was like, oh no, you never
And it's
leaving
just you.
this.
You're the only child in the house.
That's just me. I'm the only child in the house. But after that, it was just a state of confusion because me and my mom always bumped heads. And a lot of times when my mom was mad, see, my mom had a relationship with my biological mom. She knew who she was. I didn't know who she was. My mom knew about her,
Mhm.
my other family and everybody. She just didn't talk about it. And I think, well, I'm not gonna say I think. I know she did it maybe to protect me and maybe to just, keep me away from whatever stuff my biological mom had going on because she suffered from substance abuse. I have siblings that been through the same thing, if not worse, where they were raised by other people and maybe other family members and maybe just felt more neglect from my biological mother because she was more present in their life. You know, I'm the oldest from my biological mom, so I'm her first child. And she has nothing to do with raising me. I used to see her, I seen her growing up, sold her drugs or whatever, but later on as an adult, I would be out with on a date with say my kid's mom. And I remember we was at a comedy show and it was this woman in front of the comedy show, like disturbing the comic, like just irate, drunk, just saying, interrupting his
Mhm.
set, right?
Heckler.
And I remember the security kicking her out, and we sitting in the back like, who the hell is that? And as she walked to the back, it's my biological mom. Now she has spurts in her life where she cleaned herself up, got her stuff together, new car, new job, new house. My siblings are like, listen, mommy's clean. Let the kids go hang around mommy. She wants to try to be a better woman. Okay, right? And I remember her seeing me in the back of the comedy show, and she just bawled, dropped down crying in front of everybody. You ever see Coming to America when they were in the basketball game, and Eddie Murphy went to the bathroom and he bumped into the guy from Zamunda, and he was like, "Oh my God, it is you!" Like every time she would see me,
Yeah.
she would break down and cry.
Yeah.
It's because when she sees me, a part of her breaks down because she had nothing to do with raising me. And when she see me, it's like, damn, not that you turned out all right, but God is good, kind of. You know what I mean? Because, you know, who knows how I was supposed to
Because
turn
I
out.
mean, you turned out all right, and she didn't have
Yeah, I'm
any
about to
part to
say,
play in that.
right, who knows how I was supposed to turn out.
Yeah. How many siblings do you have with your mother?
Um, I'm the oldest, so I have one, two, three, four sisters and two brothers.
Okay. And do you have a relationship with them?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it wasn't our fault. You know what I mean? What we've been through. So, and we all have kids now, so we just understand the bigger picture. My listen. I
And
listen.
then your
Side note.
kids get to be,
Listen. Listen. Listen.
cousins. And
No, no, no. Listen. Side note. My nieces and my nephews, right? Because I didn't grow up with a lot of blood, a lot of people that was mine. My babies are my babies. Don't get me
family.
wrong. But what, like,
Yeah.
what? The most innocent thing in this world is my nieces and nephews. I broke the cycle with my children, but my nieces and nephews, I get to be an uncle. What? Look, I got tears.
I get it. I feel like, I mean, I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and so it was like that. And even
Mm,
still, like, the
mm,
cousins and
mm-hmm.
everybody is all together. If I take my kids to visit home, it's like everybody just falls in like they've been around each other,
Yeah,
forever. So
and that's what you
that
want.
is a
That's what you
blessing.
want. That's what you want. That unconditional, not under terms and conditions love. Family deserve that. Children deserve that. Kids don't ask to be here, right?
Right.
So,
Right. You talked about being incarcerated. How old were you when that happened?
um, I haven't been locked up since 2009. So, my daughter was born in 2005. I was 25. You know what I mean? So, like, before that, like
Okay.
multiple cases in and out, but the last time fully incarcerated was around then, and I was like, all right, listen, I can't keep doing this. They can't, they can't, I can't keep. If
Right.
they could just keep taking my life away from me, and I can't blame them. But if I'm putting myself in position like this, I gotta. I'm not bulletproof. I gotta do something else. And it's like I don't know
Mhm.
what to do, but I can't do this. That's going to lead me in a place where they lying to my babies, telling my babies I'm in college and I have no college credits. I have no college degree. It's like don't lie to my babies the way I was lied to growing up. Let's break this cycle.
And how long were you like? Where did you spend time like away from your kids, where you had
Yeah,
to
I lived.
like,
Yeah, I lived. Yeah, I lived there. Yeah, I lived there. I got mail there.
make up something?
Listen, let me tell you something. And it's not even a brag. This is none of that, right? But listen, when you live there and you get mail there, and people got to come visit you there, it's a whole different ball game. It's like this is real. You're stripped away from everything, and now you're in here with a bunch of men, and it's like you know what I mean. And it don't matter if you decent or you thorough or you know how to maneuver and you get respect. That shit is still nutty. Cause what's more decent? Going out for mimosas for brunch and hanging with your family, or being inside of prison, going to a new department store, getting a new fragrance, a new cologne, smelling good, enjoying the rain, running out. Like, I did things for the moment and it left me empty, not knowing that I was pouring from an empty cup. And later on, once I started filling my cup up, I just started doing things that were more fulfilling for me. And the most fulfilling thing to me is being a dad.
I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You were talking about you didn't want your kids to, hear that you were in college. That's a story that because I've been on the other side where, my daughter is 3 years old and going to daycare, and I'm trying to have to explain, I said New York for the longest. Like I feel like it was about 3 years. Her dad got out when she was getting ready to go to
Yeah.
kindergarten. So yeah, the whole idea of trying to build that relationship with a child that's 4 years old, and I've been on that side. So I feel like people on the inside don't really realize that when you're on the outside and you have children, you going through it too. It's
No,
different,
for sure. No, for sure. And you can't even be naive of that. Like it's like I said, it's all accountability on my end. Like, hey, if I was never in this predicament, she wouldn't have to lie. Right? So let me go ahead and just change my mindset, change my
right?
behavior.
So what was your turning point? What did that look like? The being a dad, that was your aha moment?
Nah, because I still was selling drugs when I had my oldest daughter. I still was doing a lot of dumb stuff when I had my oldest daughter. When I had my oldest daughter and my oldest son, um, my turning point was when I had three children. I was I had many apartments, many cars before, but my turning point was when I went through a breakup with my son's mom. I was living with her and her mother, and I was living with my son's mom in her mom's house. We had lost the child. She lived in Atlanta. Crazy thing is, I met her. I was on house arrest. I got off house arrest. I moved to Atlanta. I had family in Atlanta. She lived there. She got pregnant. She lost the child. We got the child cremated. She moved back to Philly. I didn't know she was from Philly. When she moved back, I stayed with her at her mother's house. She got pregnant. We had our first child. She had to get a procedure done because she had cancer before. She survived cancer, so something was wrong with her cervix. She had like an incompetent cervix, so she had to get a procedure done. When we had our son, my third son, that's in my third born, who lives in Lawrenceville. Him and his sister with their mother lives in Lawrenceville. But fast forward, my turning point was once we had him, and I didn't know how to be the man without being in the streets. I didn't know how to get a job and do the everyday thing. I was trying. That's when I went to school for HVAC. Me and her went through a breakup. I moved to my grandmother's house, back to my grandmother's house. Real humiliating moment as a man, as a father, right? But my grandmother was in hospice at the time, and my grandmother needed me more than ever. And it was like I was going through a breakup, couldn't be around my baby mom and her family because they're from Trinidad, and they were probably like one of the best families I ever surrounded myself around. So it was just a hurt piece to not be around them as much because we was going through that breakup. My grandmother's dying, and none of my family are like functionally speaking all the time for their own issues. I'm watching my hero slow down. She used to be able to. My grandma would go to the kitchen and could cook a meal for everybody, each a different meal for five different people, to whereas though she couldn't even cook for herself. Her bathroom was on the second floor. Her bathroom ended up being next to her bed on the first floor. She just slowed down, and it bothered me.
How old was she?
My grandma was older. My grandma was almost 80.
Okay.
Almost 80. So so she was slowing down, and she lived her life. She lived her life. But watching her slow down, going through that breakup, and then I went to school for HVAC. I was like, you know what? I need a job. I need stability. I'm tired of these in and out rinky dink jobs. I went to school to get a trade under my belt, HVAC. I was like, this is my first time applying myself in years, doing something different to get something different. And my first 3 days in school, orientation, I get a phone call and one of my close friends was killed. And when I tell you, it was just like God kind of just took everything away from me, and I was just placed by myself, and I didn't know why at that moment. You know what I mean? But that was the turning point for me, where it was like I have nobody to go to right now but God, and I'm like, yo, what is it that you want me to do? And it's like, no, no, no. I say this to this day. It's like God told me, like, yo, bro, I just need you to go this way, and don't look back. Don't. I don't care if you fall, stumble, trip, get back up, go this way. And that's all I've been doing ever since. So that was my
Well,
turning
and I
point.
mean, now you have kids that you taking care of.
Well, and the crazy part was I had 3 children by the time I started getting it together, right? And it's like I'm looking at my kids and I'm making these excuses. Their moms are doing phenomenal things. Their moms and my mom is raising my children. I'm making excuses, doing all this other stuff, and I'm not being the man that I need to be. So how do I expect to be treated like a man? Yeah, I might be doing all this other shit that really is not meaningful. I might be loved by all these other people, but really over here to the people that matter, I'm not shit. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you got to change something, bro.
Well, and I think a lot of times moms and girlfriends do a good job of painting a picture until the kids get old enough to start questioning, like, what's real and
Listen,
you know.
listen. My mom said to me, "You keep it up, somebody else gonna be raising your kids." And then she said to me, and then my daughter said to me one day, she don't know this, she knows this now, but she didn't know it then, because my daughter will only see me at her mom's house or my mom's house. And she said, "Dad, when you gonna get your own spot?" So, and I'm in and out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reporting on my parole. I'm just doing dumb stuff. "Dad, when you gonna get your own spot so we could just come stay with you?" Because, basically my daughter's telling me like, "Yo, Dad, I want to see more of you," and like is like mommy and grandmom is making me feel like we can only see more of you if you get your. So it's like, man, bro, I got
It's up to
tired of,
you.
bro, I got
Yeah.
tired. Like Miss Rhonda, I got tired of pretending like I was having my way with life and life was slam dancing me. I was internally bruised and broken, didn't know it, and I carried a lot of stuff with me throughout my life, and I didn't know it. And that's when I started doing the internal work, because I did everything to look good. I just didn't feel good. I did everything to look good my whole life, and I got tired of pretending,
Mm-hmm.
looking good, and not actually feeling good about who I'm actually being. Not about having money, not about having a job or a career, not about those things, about actually who I get to be for the ones that matter.
So, what did those relationships look like? How did you show up in those relationships when you were missing, not fulfilling yourself?
You said, what did they look like?
Yeah.
Irresponsible, toxic, unhealthy, frustration, anger, it's like I'm making excuses, expecting you to buy my excuses as a man, but it's like, be for real. You know what I mean? But even if I'm fun dad, even if I'm around, even if I'm like making my presence known and my kids love me, because it wasn't like I was completely absent. It was just like I wasn't being who I needed to be. You understand what I'm saying? And that being said, that's a form
Mm-hmm.
of absence, because like that's how my form of like, yo, you know what? Like one day when it hit me and I was like, oh my God, I really did some women wrong in my life. And I started calling folks back and apologizing, like, yo, I finally realized what it is that you wanted and what you was asking for. And I'm sorry. And these weren't even my kids' moms. For my kids' moms, it was like, listen, from now on, don't worry about no words. I'm just gonna be on deck. One way is financially, the other way is just presence. And throughout time, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
what type of guy that I'm actually am. So it was more or less how I had to clean it up was just through action, because it took time for them to it took time for me to even be convinced that I was changing. You know what I mean? Because I was 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year,
And they
five. I'm
probably
like,
weren't gonna
dang,
hear it.
huh?
I said they probably weren't gonna hear it anyway. Like from the person in the relationship, they probably like heard this before. You're gonna
No, no,
change.
no.
Got it.
So, so,
There's the
so,
only way to do that is to.
Yeah, no. So it was like throughout time, it was like, hey, you see Naeem doing XYZ? Oh yeah, you see Naeem and everybody, yeah, whatever. Yeah, as long as he take care of what he okay, yeah, you know Naeem. Why? So it was a time of showing the consistency, like, hey, and then it turned into the the super healthy co-parenting where we're all back in the same picture and the bigger picture is the kids. And now uh, even when, okay, prime example, one of my kids' mom, she got married. Me and her husband is still close, even though they got a divorce. Me and her husband or ex-husband is still close friends to this day because even in their relationship, we knew the bigger picture were who we were being as men around our children. One, my kids was around.
Mm-hmm.
Two, he had children.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So it's like that's how you knew. Like it was so many breakthroughs in my journey. You know what I mean? And that's where I started turning the breakdowns into breakthroughs. Like men are not supposed to be like this. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. You know, and
When you say be like this, what do you mean?
I mean, like, brother, I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? Like we can, like not just have understanding as men, but what needs to be done for the overall village. You understand what I'm saying? Like you're a part of the village. I'm not. Yeah, the kids know who dad is, but let's acknowledge who stepdad is. Let's acknowledge who's there with even when they broke up, it's like I still see him at when we go pray, and we still have a close relationship. My son just graduated. He was at the graduation. I mean, he was at the prom. Like nothing's going to stop that. We're the village. You know what I mean? And also, we know it's how important it is as men to show up for the
Well,
children.
you got a long distance between you got a long distance between the mother of your children, the older children, and the second, your son. I feel like um there's no crossover. It's easier to like have those kinds of relationships when there's not drama created with crossover, when you leading
Yeah,
out of one relationship
yeah,
into the other and there's a lot of
yeah,
animosity
yeah.
between.
No, and that was a way of standing clear where it was like, hey, you know what? I like how things are. I like how healthy things are. Let's keep this like this for the sake of the children because I have two by my oldest and two by the one that lives in Lawrenceville. So before they moved to Lawrenceville, they were up here. They lived in Lawrenceville, is like an hour away from Atlanta. But even with that being said, it's like, okay, when I come visit, she's down there with her mother and my two children. So when I go down there or when I speak to them and they're in the background, it's all healthy because the overall objective is the babies. They know that the babies love
Mm-hmm.
me and they know how important my babies are to me. So when I go down there and take time throughout the month, I'll stay with them in my daughter's room and my son room. They have a big house, nice, huge home. But just the importance of the presence of my son. Even though we talk all the time, it's not the same. And my daughter, she's 9, she'll be 10. It's not the same. So my two youngest is 9 and 10, and my middle child, he's 14, and my two oldest is 18 and 20. But if you ask me behind closed doors, like, hey, Naeem, what do you go through right now? I'll tell you, like, hey, as much as I'm a present dad, it kills me that I don't see my two babies as often as I probably want to because the circumstances, not because I'm not that dad, because even before they left, we my children know who I am. But now it gives me even more reason to fight and build, to create more freedom, to do the things that's more meaningful for me, which is still be the father, regardless of business, regardless of whatever endeavors we create. I think that right now, even taking care of my mother right now, my mother's sick. She had a stroke 3 weeks ago. She's in rehab. But even taking care of my mother right now, I'm just looking at things, the overall importance. I'll be 44, and it's like, what's really important to me? What's really fulfilling for me? And I've been on this path for years of just doing the things that's fulfilling, that feels good. Because, like I tell you, I come from the complete opposite, and I glorified that. And I
Mm-hmm.
probably was crying right before I got on this call, just in a space of gratitude to get opportunities like this to speak and probably help and heal someone, but then also share from a genuine space because I wasn't always this.
Well, and I feel like based on what you've gone through, um, the outcome is usually not, a healthy mind. what are some of the tools? Like, what did you do, to get to here?
As far as what, healing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like healing is an ongoing thing, but like I
Yeah,
said, when you talk about what you went through as a child and growing
yeah,
up and the journey to end up where you are in this space,
yeah,
and now, like, I've been a caregiver, so you taking care of your grandmother and you looking out for your mother, those are life changing things. I think that
yeah.
definitely make you look at things differently.
I think some things that, like you said, healing is an ongoing thing. You know, when we talk about doing the work, excuse me, that's an ongoing thing. That's not a, oh, I did the work, I'm done. That's a, it's like the never ending story. So,
That's a no. Yeah, that's a red flag.
you said what?
I said that's a red flag. There's no
Yeah, yeah.
done.
I think you said that when you did your review on me, and I was like, yes, she gets it, because it's like, you know, and it doesn't matter in age. You know, you realize there's some people that's just not aware of these things, and it don't make them bad people. You just be like, okay, cool. We're just not on that frequency when it comes to these things. But having awareness, start, like knowing where you're at, identifying where you're at. Like when I tell you I was tired of acting, I had to identify where I was at and the things that were holding me back. Not the things that everybody loved about me, the small areas that I kept neglecting. My integrity, my happiness, you know, my freedom. You know, for somebody like me, it's like, hey, when things get sticky, where's your mindset at? And it's like, hey, I got years of handling things in a healthy manner when problems, when problems pop up. And I pat myself on the back for that, because I'm like, I didn't always have that healthy
Well,
mindset.
you said your integrity.
Yeah. Integrity. So integrity is
That's what
doing,
I was gonna say. Your integrity. So if you live in a street life and you're out here in these streets, integrity, that's a gray area. It's not a black and white. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
As opposed to being in
yeah,
the space you are now, either it's a good thing or it's not a good thing.
yeah, yeah. So when I remember when I first started my journey of health and fitness and nutrition, I started making money. And I was like, I didn't get into this for money, but I still had six toes in the streets. So how? I still was selling drugs while I was
Okay.
in school. While I was in school, I'm going to school for HVAC. I'm leaving school. I'm working out, but I'm sneakily selling drugs on the side, not trying to put myself out there so I can make a couple hundred, so I can still get gas, get my son's haircuts, get little things that I know I need while I'm in school, because I'm not making a whole lot of money right now. But I'm
You
still playing it
hustling.
safe. I'm still playing it safe. It wasn't until I got my income to about 3,000-4,000 a month consistently without anything else, that I said, why the fuck am I selling drugs? Like, why am I still doing this? And I was like, you know what? I've outgrown this. And I had to start looking at things that I've outgrown. And for me, it's something small, but I mean, for somebody else, it might be something small, but not being in going in and out of jail, not worrying about the police. Listen, I had a breakthrough one time where the police pulled me over, and I'm so used to being in the wrong. When they pulled me over, they saw my flyers, and they said, we know exactly who you are. You run the workouts over at so and so. We follow a couple girls that go to the workouts. We were supposed to come out one day, and we're sorry for pulling you over, XYZ. Matter of fact, can we have your information? And I remember having that breakthrough, like, what? Thank you, God. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like who we get to
This could have been
be,
very different.
who we get to be, even with things that I have going on now, such as the Midnight Run, which is July 19th. Over 700, 800 participants at the art museum. This is for me to walk into the city office and have city councilmen and other people backing this, and other people knowing me for this is funny. Going out and people knowing me for Ready to Love, that's been out for a few months, but I've been helping doing these things in my community for for over a decade now. And it's a lot of people that know me for this. But it'd be so funny when I meet people and they say, Naeem, and I'd be like, yes. And they'd be like, ready to love. And I'd be like, damn, you don't know me from nothing else, just ready to love. But that's cool though. That's cool. That's cool. You know what I mean? Because but at
That's
the
probably
same
why you ended
time,
up over here, so you could be on the bigger. Yeah.
no, at the same time, it's like in a space of gratitude, like I would have never been in a space to even had been offered ready to love, because the woman that referred me, I met her in an airport and we had a great conversation over like lemon drops. And she went her way, I went my way, but she was so impressed. And she and me also, her, I got goosebumps. Her frequency was so on a high vibration. We just remain Instagram friends. And I could just tell she's somebody that does the work and constantly do the work. And I'm a fan of that. She's the one that referred me. I haven't spoken to her since then. I probably said thanks, you know, up until then. But she has a career. She's in
Yeah.
entertainment. She's in the entertainment. So I like I said, who we get to be, like even meeting somebody like you, that's a privilege. Because had I not worked on myself, changed my life, I'm just a fan of knowing that energy goes where energy flows. I would have not been able to get this opportunity to meet somebody like you to even share this platform. So I'm just in complete gratitude, just complete gratitude.
Well, I appreciate you being here. So it's a mutual gratitude for sure. Um, there's so many things.
So
Okay.
many.
I had a question about, you said you were 11 when your parents told you that you were adopted.
Yes.
When do you feel like, I personally feel like maybe for adopted children, that's something they should know from the very beginning. When do you think is the right time to tell your child that, this is, this is how our family is built?
I think it's that old school saying, there's no manual on raising a child. You know, a lot of people do what they do for protection. A lot of people do what they do to keep the family safe. A lot of people do what they do to just bury things under the rug. Um, I can't make anyone feel wrong or how they choose to handle things. I would say for me, I feel as though that kids don't understand certain things, but they do understand certain things. So, you know how they say, like, hey, when you get older, you'll understand a little bit more. I just think if certain things might be unveiled, but some things might be too heavy for a child to carry, you know? So in a case like mine, in a case like mine, I probably wouldn't have it no other way because of my storyline and how things happen. But it's hard to say though, Miss Rhonda, because at the end of the day, like there is no like, we could chat GPT our lives away, but how you feel in your gut versus how you feel in your heart are two different things, and you have to wait for those moments to
Mm-hmm.
really happen to understand who you are as character. Like for instance, I have a friend, and I'm not putting his business out, but recently he got custody of his children, and uh he has a child by the woman, but the other woman's child, they ended up being in the system some way somehow, and he had got custody of his son and the other child as well. And even though the other child is not his, how important in that moment you feel in your gut. You might hate. He might have been hating his child's mom at that moment and probably had animosity, but in that moment, the other child that's not his didn't ask to be here and don't deserve the neglect from anybody. So he felt in his gut to do what was right. You know what I mean? To whereas though if you might have asked him months before
Mm-hmm.
that what he did, he probably would have said, "Man, f that," woo, 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 right? But so, and I commend him for that. I commend him for that. So it's hard to say, Miss Rhonda, based on what you'll do in those moments. But honestly, I think it's the best way anyway. It's just how do you unpack these things to a child who is still learning people? You know, how do you unpack these things to children who's still learning people? You know,
Mm-hmm.
your belief system as a child is so pure, and you gotta be very uh, aware of what you unpack on children, because a lot was unpacked on me. A lot was unpacked on me, um, even from being molested from my uncle, and later on in life, not seeing him all of these years, and then finally seeing him on house arrest. It did something to me that it never did before because I haven't seen him. And when I seen him, I was a father. I was a dad of two. My daughter was 3, my son was 1, and I'm like, I know this ain't this motherfucker at
How
my
does your
mom.
mind work? What the what?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. So it's like, because of the mindset, I handled it in the way that I thought was right. Later on, by doing the work, learning to forgive, learning to heal, learning to let go, when I seen him, it wasn't on me anymore. So that's what probably caught him off guard. But you know, you can't let anything or anybody live rent free in your head, because in order to take off, you got to clear the runway. And I just vowed to myself to never go back, never go back to the old me, never going back to compromising my freedom, my happiness, my integrity. When you talked about integrity, that's so important, because integrity is doing what I said I was going to do. And I told you that my talk with God, that's my integrity. To be like, yo, this is what I said I'm gonna do. These are my non-negotiables. So now I'm working on myself. Now I'm personally developed, listening to myself, reading something, placing myself around some type of environment where I can heal more, because it's not done. Just not physically working out for a coping mechanism, but creating more healthier habits and more healthy environments, and hanging around more healthier frequencies. And it's a you know, when I go to fit camps and I remind my folks, we're not just here to work out, we're here to make better choices when we leave here, because that's the test.
When you're alone and you don't have your support system, can
When
you
you don't
still
have
follow
me
through?
blowing a whistle screaming at you, when you don't have me clocking the time, when you don't have your neighbor next to you encouraging you, when you going back to the fridge and you going to the same shit, or you going back to the same environment,
Hmm.
or you answering the same phone calls, or you texting the same people, why are you not surprised that life is not changing? And I used to be that same way. Like, why am I surprised? Why am I surprised that life is not changing? I go hang around these same folks. I attract these same women. I do the same thing. I could change my hairstyle. I could change my outfit. I'm the same. I have to do the inner work. It took with having uncomfortable conversations. It took with having uncomfortable conversations with not only my mom that raised me, but my biological mom, who I didn't even think I had resentment towards. You know what I mean? It took having uncomfortable conversations with not only my biological father, but my father that raised me. It took having uncomfortable conversations with my kids' moms, asking them to forgive me, even if it's not that deep. You know what integrity is, Miss Rhonda? I'm sorry. I told you I would be on this call at 4 o'clock. It's 4:10. I'm so sorry. Naeem, it's not that deep. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. And if you allow me to clean it up, I will. And if you don't do what you said you're going to do, then clean it up.
I
That's
mean, that's
integrity.
big.
That's integrity. And it's like something so small, like you develop the mindset of something so small can knock you off, where you're like, yo, I'm on my fitness journey, but damn, I had 4 Reese's yesterday. And you're like, yo, bro, it's only 4 Reese's. I know, but the way I'm wiring myself, I can't be weak for nothing, because I've been weak for so long, and I've been giving weak excuses. And I gave my kids' moms, my mother, my friends, my family, victim excuses and a victim mindset where I had to
But do
turn
you
that
give
around.
yourself room to make a mistake?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not. Yeah, no, for sure. I don't sit up here and be like, yo, I'm. No, listen, I give myself grace heavy because nobody's gonna give it to me. I give myself grace heavy. Nobody's gonna give it to me, and it's just it's it's not about perfection. It's about progression. I'm just out to 1% better daily. Leave people better than they came. Make sure I fill my cup up. Make sure I'm who I am for these babies. Because even with them getting older, it's a different form of parenting. You know what I mean? College and trunk, it's a different
Oh
form of
yeah,
parenting.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm here for it. As long as let me take care of myself, so I can be here for the ones that's important. Whatever fun I have, whatever experiences I can create, I'm going to connect the dots because that's what makes me thrive. The creative side, you know. But at the same time, just knowing that I'm Naeem and I'm unapologetically, I'm unapologetically, and that's the listen, Miss Rhonda. The best part about being me is I ain't gonna say that I know I ain't perfect. That I know that between being busy and bullshitting, I really be being a dad and I really be making stuff happen. And I'm proud of how far I came. And I can't wait to see what another 10, 15, 20, because I'm in it for the long haul, Miss Rhonda. I'm in it for the long haul. Ready to Love was, they see me in action, like a smidgen because, but my castmates, I connected with all of them. Regardless if anybody chose me physically, these are still my folks, the
That's a
women
good
and the
thing.
men.
I always feel like you said in the beginning, you go over there and you feel like, well, it could happen,
Yeah,
but it's not likely that it happens. So hopefully you do walk away with new friends. You're now a part of a sorority, I mean a fraternity, sorority, of some sort where, even for the people that are not in Philly, they're all over the place. What DC, Dallas, all these different places, y'all have this specific connection. Um,
right.
I have a big gap between my kids. My oldest is 37. My youngest is 19. So you have a big gap with your kids. Do your older children point out the difference in how you were with them versus how you are with the babies?
Um, so for the my daughter now is 20. For the past 12 years, I've been super present, class trips, everything, you name it, daddy daughter day, family so just super flexible with my time and freedom. So I don't think my daughter remembers too much of what I what wasn't. You know what I mean? My son don't remember what was like. This is normal to them. Dad is around, Zoom calls, working out. Dad's traveling, doing keynote speak. The norm. Hey, Dad, where you going? You're going away for 2 days, 3 days. Okay, cool. Cash apps, Capri Suns in the fridge, Wi-Fi's on. Dad, you know what I mean? So the moms know differently. My mom knows differently, but I don't think my kids missed the beat because it's been so many years of consistency. You know what I mean? Especially with my babies. My daughter can't say, "Oh, Dad, you didn't eat." My daughter can't say that. My oldest daughter or my oldest son. Hey, Dad, you was at games. You was never at my games. They can't say that. You bought him stuff that you
Well,
never bought.
not that, but I mean, with your daughter and your older son, there was no Instagram and all of that stuff like it is. Maybe they've been around 20
Well,
years,
yeah,
but
I'm about
not
to
like
say.
how these kids are growing up with, the
Oh yeah,
video
yeah.
games are interactive and
Yeah, yeah. So it was different, but the same because it was always a game. It was always something technology. It was always something new. It was always something, keeping up. These kids will keep you up on whatever's going on. But
Mhm.
it's, you know, how easy it is to just send food or buy a gift or, have things pop up to your front doorstep is just like amazing. But, it wasn't this where I could send my,
Mhm.
my daughter, she's 20, Dad, can you order me a cheesesteak? You have money, you have a job, you don't even pay your phone bill. But I think she just paid her phone bill for the first time ever this month. But, send me money, not send me money, Dad, can you order me a specific dish or whatever she wants to eat? And it's like, regardless if she could order it or not, you know what I mean? It's just nature being a
It's like
dad.
magic.
Yeah, yeah. Even my youngest daughter, that doesn't change. Dad,
So
these are things I want. But yeah, I don't. Not too much has changed, but I understand. No, not too much has changed. Am I like
so
snotty?
we're gonna talk about the show a little bit. When
Let's go.
you no, you're good.
Okay.
Um, you came on the show. You're Naeem. You got 5 kids and 3 baby moms. So that's been your narrative throughout this whole, first half of the season. Now you were putting it out there, and I don't know if you watch any of the other shows on OWN, but there's a show that just went off where the young lady came over there. They have this online relationship. They get to meet each other, and they find out that she not only has one child like she thought, like this man thought, but she actually has 3 children. So now the one child is now 4 kids. So I mean, do you think it's better to go ahead and put it out there, or should you be hiding the fact
I
that
mean,
you have all these children? Because
no,
that's a
no,
big number
yeah, no.
when you
Listen,
talk
listen,
about dating.
listen. When I agreed to do the show, and people that know me, they're like, well, nah, what if you find somebody? I'm like, well, if I find somebody, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see that I like somebody, they like me. They know what I'm like when the chemistry's on, right? But overall, like, I know, excuse me, I wasn't gonna be everybody's cup of tea. Light skin, man bun, 5 kids, 3 baby moms. On paperwork, that sounds like I'm doing a lot. Like it sounds like a lot of this. If like the way y'all read me, or the way the other two, the way they read me, is exactly how the world is supposed to perceive somebody like me. Like, wait, get him the. What is he doing? He want another baby mom. He ain't take care of the other
Right.
baby mom. I'm listen. I listen. The way they edited, I'm lined up for all of that type of stuff, and I get it. It was so funny to me. It's so funny because one, I didn't go on here for clout or validation. My babies know who I am. They moms know who I am. My family, my friends, my community, they know who I am. I worked so hard to not let anybody make me feel bad. You could have made me feel bad when I was using women, waking up in prison, robbing Peter to pay Paul, juggling and struggling, lying, manipulating, stealing, thieving. You could have made me feel bad. Ms. Rhonda, I've done so much work. So whereas though I love myself so much that I'm whole without anybody giving me that, because I give it to myself and I just go to God, and I radiate around energy like this so it could keep growing and flourishing. But I understand on paperwork, if he don't say a word, oh, and they edit it, oh, he got a problem when he got baby mom, bro. Oh no, get him out of here. I'm like, I didn't say that, but I'm like, but it's cool. It was edited, because besides besides Tay, in that moment when Tay really was like, and this is when I was talking to Rose and Tay came over, I was like, let me just get it out the way and tell this girl before because this is a fast mixer. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I got 5 kids, 3 baby moms, and a partridge in a pear tree. All right, cool. All right, she got right up. I'm like, all right, cool. Next, because it was like she's immediately like, no, I'm good, and I get it. That's cool. But once I think she was like, yo, I didn't know this was you on social media. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Um, I see that you're a good dad. I see that you're a good person. Can we take this back? Can we hit the reset button? I was like, we sure can, Tay. Because when we will go to deliberation, all the guys would be like,
But I
Tay.
think that would be a regular response. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because Kiera kind of responded the same way. What if you ran into a woman, and she had 5 kids and 3 baby daddies. Wouldn't you at least be on pause for a second, like until you get, because you're in a fast-paced environment.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not talking
listen.
about in the real world where I would
No,
still be
listen.
on pause, but I'm not gonna not pursue
No,
it.
listen. No, listen. I understand. It's like I met a woman and she invited me over and she had every kid toy known to man on the floors. You know how like kids control the floors with all they stuff? And I'm like, how many new kids you
Mm-hmm.
got? She had 3 new babies and 3 older babies. I'm like, oh, you got 3 older babies and 3 younger babies. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot. I don't care if it's by one person. That's a
That's a
lot.
lot.
And it's like, okay, cool. You're not bad. It's not, it won't, I get it. You know, now somebody meeting me, if it was like, or 5 kids in the crib or whatever, it might seem like it's a lot. Like, yo, you don't got the capacity to be with somebody like me. Or let's find out if you have the capacity to be with somebody like me. Let's find out. But I think a lot of times, even in dating, a lot of times men and women aren't aware of where they are at, where they are in their life at as far as capacity with dating and who they're allowed to bring in and what they're allowed to bring in. I think a lot of times people just don't have awareness with themselves and knowing who they are. So, but what you said was with Kiera, even with Kiera, it was like, yo, 5 kids, 3 baby moms, it's a lot. I didn't explain to her how old they were or my situation. It was like, yo, that is the natural response that any woman, because even when it came out, she was like, I'm sorry, beloved. I'm like, it's cool, it's all right, because that was all real. That was natural. That wasn't fluff. That's what people want. Not like she did that for the people, but that was a natural reaction. Like,
That's a
Some
real response.
right. So I get it. I get it.
So let's talk about these green bubbles.
Green
Because that
bubbles.
was another thing that you came over here and you were upset with this lady because she had green bubbles.
That was another part that was edited. That was another part edited because if you look at any one of our now, all right, let me just say this. Let me just say this. Shout outs to True, right? True was the only one of the only ones besides her and Kiera. True was at my top. Wasn't too many other men that had True at their top in there, right? True was at my top. True made me feel like it was a thing, but it was kind of too early to it was kind of too early to decide that, and I didn't see the other group, right? And we had all went out one day after filming. We wasn't supposed to, but we all went out after filming one day. It was a few of the girls and myself.
This is before you met the other half of the group.
This was after when we first met the first half, me and True, we was good. Um, I got her phone number. I didn't get her phone number right away. I got her phone number. So after we met the second group, after a day of filming, they said, "Hey y'all, let's go out to a certain area. Let's get some drinks." Angie texted me because me and Angie knew each other before the show. Me and Angie was the only ones that knew each other on the show, so you didn't see a lot of interaction between me and Angie because that was the homie. But Angie called me and
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yo, we about to go get some drinks." No, True called me and says, "Yo, call Angie. We about to meet up for some drinks." I'm like, "Call Angie. What's going on?" So, long story short, I end up going to a restaurant with all of them, Rocky, Kiera, True, everybody. One, no other men. I'm like, "Oh, there's no other men here." I'm like, "All right, bet. Y'all just invite me." I'm like, "All right, bet." So we sat there, had drinks. No, listen, but honestly though, Miss Rhonda, it was like a day after filming, decompressing. You know how I like to go out for a quick little drink, quick little appetizer, real quick too. So I'm like, bet. My homie was close by. He was coming to drop me off something, and Jay was the only one that was called out of the cast to come. So I had ordered everybody drinks, ordered a bunch of apps, and I had to really go get my youngest son. So I was like, yo, y'all, I'm out. I see y'all later. Everybody gave me their number, like right in front of each other. Gave me their number, and as I left, everybody started texting me like, "Oh my God, thank you, Naeem. We didn't know you paid the bill. We didn't know. We see that you paid. Thank you, thank you." Next day, True was like, "So who all text you?" I'm like, "What you mean?" Everybody texted me and said, "Thank." Oh, so everybody has your number? You just saw everybody get my number, and I'm like, she like, "Well, why?" And then I saw that you called because they was on set together. I saw that you called somebody else the other day. I'm like, "Yeah, I called Kiera." "Yeah, but you didn't call me." I'm like, "I did call you." I'm like, "Matter of fact, I meant to ask you, why the fuck am I still in the green bubbles if you got an iPhone?" I'm like, "Are you texting me on like some type of app?" I'm like, "Because I did call you and I did text you. And I respond to every one of your text messages. But I'm wondering when we go into the blue." "Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's not that serious." I'm like, "No, you're asking me, did I call you?" And I did call you and I did contact with you, but are you getting the notifications? Because clearly you got me on an app because you got an iPhone. And I'm like, "I'm not worried about it, but you kind of a little bit pressing the issue with me calling other people and how I'm not on your line."
It looked like she
Right.
playing.
So I left it at that. So the way they edited it was like, I didn't care because if I show you all of our text messages, I still got them. If I show you our text messages, they all in the green. I didn't care because I still was like, "Great morning. How was your day? Cool. I see you there. How was your day of filming? What did they have you doing today?" We still was interacting. So I never was like, "Oh, you got a Android." No, they edited it and made it look like I had a big gripe about that. But I only griped about that when she would say to me like, "Well, you didn't call me." I'm like, "When? Today?" I'm like, "We've been talking." "Oh, you just mean that I haven't been on your line calling you as frequent." I'm like, I'm kind of like on the fence because when you ask me about other women and you make me feel like I should choose you, it's like it's kind of too soon to be doing this and acting like this over other women right now when this is the process. But when she came to my
And
shop
you're
that day,
supposed to, like, you're supposed to be talking to other
technically,
women.
right, technically, but I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but technically this is what we're supposed to do. But anyway, she ended up getting so mad that day at the shop, at my shop, and she actually the phone rang like by the grace of God in that same moment. And I was like, "Is that the real phone or the fake phone?" And she actually, because they was filming, she felt so embarrassed and she walked off. So they had to bring her back on set. And once they brought her back on set, I was like, "Listen, I'm sorry if something I said triggered you. That wasn't my intentions. I don't know what's getting you flared up like this, but let's hit the reset button." She texted me later on that day, "Naeem, I didn't want to come in. Today's my mom's birthday or something like that. I had a lot going on. Blase blip, blase blip. I wish I didn't come in today." I said, "It's all right, cool." Next thing you know, she was eliminated, so I never seen her again. You know what I mean? But it was never no issue for me. Oh, if somebody got an Android, I ain't texting them back. Or somebody got green bubbles, I ain't texting them back. No, that's just how it was edited. So I look like the 5 kids, 3 baby moms. I don't like Android Bandit, right?
We were roasting you on that. And I don't know if I thought that's what it was. It just was one of those things that they kept talking
Yeah,
about.
I
And I
was
was like,
like,
for God's sakes, with the green bubbles already. Um, Kiera, you had a little thing with Kiera. You said you have a little thing for hood girls when you refer to Kiera. So what does that mean?
well. I think in a nutshell, when a woman get to be themselves, like if she know how to like turn it on and be refined and hold herself, classy and refined, and know how to carry herself as a lady, but then also still have fun, let her hair down, and not be afraid to be who she is in her neighborhood. You know what I mean? So that's the part that I seen in her. Like that's why we still connected to this day. Like we could laugh and joke about the same thing, see the same thing funny, not be scared about laughing about what's funny and just move on. You know what I mean? Like she's unapologetically her too. So I think that was what I meant. It wasn't like she's super ratchet or hood, like, you know what I mean? But just being able to be herself, let her
She
hair
doesn't
down.
give that. She has a very sweet like energy. I don't know if she's getting a great edit, but what she's giving is giving out
Really?
very sweet.
No, no, no,
But I
no,
feel like
no.
she also can go there if she needs to.
Oh man, yeah, no, but listen, that's what I'm saying. Like she's very sweet. Don't take that away from her. But she from the hood. she likes, you know what I'm saying? She can hang. She can hang. You know what I'm saying? Two can hang. She's, you know what I mean? So
Aren't
and a
they
lot of
all
them
though? I
too.
feel like they keep saying like there's certain girls. I feel like there's certain girls they're giving that description to, but I feel like shout out to my girl Sahara. I love Sahara. I just have to put that out there. But
Hmm.
they kind of giving that energy. But I feel like all of them, like I'm from Flint, Michigan, so I
Yeah, I'm
feel
about to
like
say you from Flint. You from
Flint and
Flint.
Philly is very similar. So I get that I get that energy, that kind of
That's
I
it.
don't know, I don't want to call it hard, but it's definitely,
Yeah,
around the
no,
way girl kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. You grew up. You if you from Flint, you got some survival tactics. You got some street smarts. You got some knowledge of some shit that goes on in areas that everybody don't be in.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't help that. You can't help when you go to your family reunion or your old neighborhood who your folks are, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's all of us. Each and every one of them girls on there.
I remember growing up, I lived on the south side, but I would spend the weekends on the north side, and it's
See,
definitely like,
see,
it's
see.
going to the crib.
See, and then you come back to your neighborhood like, yeah, y'all don't be where I be at. Y'all don't be doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, my mother worked for GM, so I went to private school. So when I would go spend the weekends with my cousins, they would be like, listen to her talk. Say this, say that. Because, I'm around all of the
Ah,
clear kids. And so I
right,
speak different.
right.
Um, Miss Tay is a favorite for everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
we left you and Tay with her feet in your lap, and y'all was like
Mm-hmm.
having a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were having this lovely date with Tay,
Mm-hmm.
did Francisco cross your mind?
So okay, so honestly, so timeline wise, um, when me and Francisco had that talk, I didn't get to know Tay yet. Tay had just when me and Francisco had that talk, Tay had reached out a couple days before that. Tay had reached out to me on social media and said what she said to me, but then reiterated that on camera at the block party. So after I talked to Francisco, I talked to Tay. Tay was like, "Look, I still want to hit the reset button, blase blip." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And in my head, I'm like, "All right." And then when I got chose for the date at her house, and um, they told me where my date was at, and I was like, "Yeah, is y'all ready for this?" I'm like, "Cause I already feel the chemistry right now, and I already know what's about to happen." I'm like, "Where the date at?" They're like, "At her house." I'm like, "Oh my god, give me some roses, please, thank you." And I'm like, "Yo, y'all about to watch." I'm like, "Listen, y'all about to watch me in action." I'm like, because I already felt when we sat down at the block party, because they didn't show that. When we sat down and we said what we said, we felt the chemistry right then and there. Like, oh shucks, like yeah, I know you feeling Francisco. I know everybody else is feeling you, and I haven't got a chance to actually know you until now. And I'm like, oh shucks. So when we went to deliberation, they was like, Naeem, so who's at your top this week? I'm like, I'm sorry, y'all, Tay. It was like, and they was like, huh? I'm like, listen, we went on that when we went on that date. We went on that date. The camera crew, everybody already knew it. She was anticipating it, I was anticipating it, and we got there, and it was what it was. The dinner was smooth. We had a little drink. We had good, deep, meaningful conversation. But then once we sat on the couch and played the little game, I think I made that first question up. Just to break the ice, to make her laugh. But then the rest of the questions
I
were
mean,
actually,
I think you made it up too. I was
yeah,
like, that wasn't in the
yeah,
box.
yeah, yeah. I have somewhat of a background, but anyway, uh, yeah, I think the chemistry right
You
there.
said you was a dog. Is that the background you're talking about?
You said I was a what? What'd you say?
You said you were a dog. Is that the background that you're referring to?
I I said I was a dog, or just now?
You said that on your podcast, not
Yeah, no,
on the
yeah, no. I could say for
show.
sure, like it wasn't just a dog. It was just like we come from the player background. We come from listening to music, and we come from that. So you know, and growing up. it was like girls and sports and stuff like that. So typical normal stuff. So I've developed a certain way where I developed a certain way with women. Let me just say that. And I'm good at reading people, but I'm good with women as well. And um, don't I didn't go on the show to mislead anybody or make anybody feel like, oh, you're the one, let's do this now. Like, it was all from a mature space, but the chemistry that you seen with Tay was real. I mean, but the date actually went super well. It's a lot more that's going to happen too. That's the beauty about when it comes back on. You it's things that you probably least expect, but it's a lot more things that's going to happen. And then we got the reunion, and the reunion is like, I think the
I
reunion
heard
is
the
gonna.
reunion was wild.
Yeah, I think the reunion is so spicy. I think it's gonna blow up so much. It's gonna make people watch the season, how the reunion go, because they're gonna be like, what the fuck? I didn't know this is a show. Like, watch, because the
What
reunion,
happened?
the reunion. I'm gonna just say, like, just don't play in grown black people's and grown black women's face. You don't play in grown black women's faces. That's all. And you know, them women.
I mean, I can't wait to see who he's playing, but I feel like I have an idea.
I
Um,
mean,
Everybody
at the end
really
of the.
like took to the scene with you and Francisco.
You said what?
Everybody kind of, was appreciative. Everybody was appreciative of the scene with you and Francisco. What do you think made him open up to you, and were you surprised that he, let his
No,
guard down a little bit?
no, 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 no. So, like I said, Ms. Rhonda, who I got to be is that. So, I like to laugh and joke. I'm silly, right? But I'm also serious and passionate about helping each other and being that for each other, right? So, whatever behavior, whatever I displayed, as far as my vulnerability, as far as being a father, as far as not being scared about anything, like, you know what I mean? That resonated with him. And enough that he was like, yo, bro, this is what I'm going through. He came to me off camera and was like, this is what I'm going through, XYZ, blase blip. And we had that moment then. And that moment was so powerful
Hmm.
that he requested that on camera. Like, yo, and he requested it for a reason. Not just for that moment, like to make him look bad or to build. He didn't request it for that. He requested it because he didn't want nobody else but Tay. So he didn't want to open up to anybody
Got it.
else. And it's like, you know what I mean? So to the show,
I
they
can
like,
see that. That makes
so
sense.
right. So to the show, they're like, no, bro, you got to open up to everybody. Like, no, bro, if I'm doing this with Tay and she acting like this, I'm not trying to do this with the rest of the women. So
Hmm.
the conversation was a segue of him like, you know what? Let me get back in the game and meet other people, talk to other people, type of thing. So it was a good part of the storyline, but it actually was real off a storyline. You know what I mean?
Well, and good for him too, though, because you might need to open up, you know, because this is not your girlfriend. You just met her. So you might,
Yeah,
you might need to see
yeah.
like what else is out there, what other kind of relationships you can build. Um, are you married to Philly, or would you be open to living somewhere else?
Oh no, I'm out of here. My son is 18. I didn't already ask my youngest son, mom, what if I relocate? How would that look like? And she was like, I already know that you bigger than the city. I already know it was a matter of time. Cause I already lived in Atlanta back in the day. I already lived in LA a couple years ago. Um, you know, so now I was just looking
I
for.
also lived in Atlanta. I went to college there. I don't feel like Atlanta now is the Atlanta it was. I was in Atlanta in the 90s, so you can't top
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you can't talk. It's never coming back. It's never
Yeah.
coming back. But yeah, no, not Atlanta. It's definitely a lot of outskirts in Georgia, Texas. Cali is super expensive, but um, I'm definitely not married to Philly. I'll definitely relocate.
So I kind of like to call this the hot seat because these are questions that people don't necessarily like to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it also gives you some insight into, what a relationship with Naeem would look like.
All right, let's go.
Does it matter to you? Does your partner's religious affiliation have to match yours? Do you have to be on the same accord when it comes to religion?
No, but I would like for a woman to be very spiritual. Even if they're not very religious, you know, still have some type of relationship. Because I know a lot of people that's religious that don't have no relationship with their creator, and I know a lot of people that
They're
don't really don't
devils.
don't and, and don't really have. I know a lot of people that have a great relationship with their creator that might not have a certain structure and religious practices. So no, that doesn't matter. As long as a person believes in God and is God fearing.
How do you feel about gender roles?
Gender roles, what's that? What's
Gender
gender
roles, like,
roles?
are there like men things, and women should be cooking and cleaning, and men should,
Oh,
do the heavy lifting?
yeah, I was just on a panel where they were going back and forth about 50-50 and stuff like that. And like I told them, I depending on the scenario and the folks, whatever works for you. Whatever makes your household float and flourish. By all means, do what you gotta do. But um, I think the overall, I don't, I don't believe like, oh, woman, yeah, because I know I love a woman that could do it all, but I'm not saying that she has to do it all. You know what I'm saying? Because what's the gender roles? If I pay all the bills and you cook and I wash clothes, I be at Target. Like I be doing a lot of the domestic stuff. You know what I mean? So like it depends. I depends. Like I don't believe in gender roles because I do a lot of the taking the clothes to the laundry and going to the market and now I might not cook all the time, but everything else I keep the house clean. You know what I mean? Like I'm neat freak, so it's a lot of good qualities. But I just think it depends on who you with and how you guys complement each other. You know what I mean? And just and you learn how to communicate what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But I'll do it all. You know what I mean? I don't believe in gender rules. I'll just nice little cook meal. You know, bath ran every now and again, date night, you know what I'm saying, movie night, you know what I'm saying, family, alone time, you know. A lot of these things are important. So it's just knowing who you are and who your person is, depending on what works for you. But I don't believe in like not like my grandfather was, you know what I mean? Like he told my grandma, you need to get in there and make that dinner, stop acting like you sick. And I was like, oh
Yeah, yeah.
shucks. I was like, oh shit. So
None of that.
I
You
ain't like
said date night. What is your idea of a perfect date?
perfect date. I just posted something like this in my stories the other day. It was like the date doesn't have to be expensive to be intentional or something like that. And it was a picnic. And a friend of mine, she commented and said, "No, most people don't know how to be creative. They think they need to go on an expensive date." And I just think it all depends on who you're with. Like the not the perfect date, but like knowing the person. You know what I mean? The person might enjoy a picnic more than they enjoy an expensive dinner. The person might enjoy a workout or a run or quality time that way, something fun or adventurous. Kind of just reading the signs and knowing the person. Some person might say, they just looked at a certain restaurant and you might want to surprise them and show them that it depends. But um, I would say a perfect date would just be something intentional where you could get to know somebody a little bit more. Like I like to go to maybe if I can 2 different places, maybe three in a night, so I could kind of get like a feel of a person, depending on how much how long they could hang out that night. But you know, dinner is fine, but another type of atmosphere where it might be a bar or it might be like a bar and grill or somewhere fun like a barcade or something. I mean it depends. It depends. Like I went on a good date where um I'll pick a woman up in an Uber and not drive my car and pick her up. That way we can sit in the back with each other, and I'll make reservations at a restaurant, and I'll get the restaurant to like put roses or something special on the table other than what they offer. just so I can make everything. Because it don't got to be a special occasion for you to treat someone special. It don't got to be a holiday or nothing like that. And I'm just a firm believer of that. Even the gifts that I buy are very heartfelt, very thought out. It's not just designer and materialistic stuff. If your aunt just passed, or you just lost a pet, or something like that, I'm going to do something that's dear heart, that's going to mean something to you. Um, Go to the restaurant, might rub your feet under the table, uh, might get up and dance in front of everybody, even if there's no dance floor. Just one of those type of people, and then leave there, sit in the back with each other, go somewhere else, maybe catch a vibe, maybe get like a little snack, little app, just spending time, and then drop you off at the end of the night, with no expectation, but to just see you again and just keep building. You know what I mean? Because um, unless you just unless you just going somewhere like a comedy show or something like that, but there's so many ways to have fun. There's so many ways to spend time. There's so many ways to be creative. I like those things, reciprocated to me. You know what I mean? I like to be treated special as well. But I definitely know how to take care of somebody and make them feel special without it being a special occasion. Come out the roses on your car. You know what I mean? Bring roses and food to
Well,
your
now
job.
I'm trying to pay attention. And based on what you said, love languages are a big thing right now. So it sounds like, if I was going to guess, based on what you said, your love language would be quality time and gift giving.
No, acts of kindness and gift
What
giving.
are your love languages?
Quality, acts of kindness and gift giving.
And then what would be your order? Acts of service, gift giving.
Acts of service, gift
There's five
giving,
of them.
touch,
Quality time, physical touch,
quality time. Yeah, physical touch, quality time. And what's the last one? Acts of service,
words of affirmation.
words of affirmation is my last one. Acts of kindness,
Okay.
gift giving,
See, I
touch.
feel like the same way because I'm an active service person. So you can't tell me words of affirmation are not necessarily that. I
Oh
don't
my God.
personally need that, but I know a lot of
You
people
will
that do.
you will win my heart with something. I be like, you was thinking about me and you did it. Oh my God. You wanna help? Oh my God. I be so like, oh my God. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I love it. Love
Okay,
languages.
so you used to be a rapper.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I
this is
did.
a big question that I've, decided that I would like to ask people along the
Go ahead.
way.
Go ahead.
Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Oh shit. uh, hey man, listen. I'm not light skinned for a reason, right? You know what I mean? I'm not light skinned for a reason. I understand what Kendrick got going
This is
on.
we'll go left.
I I understand what Kendrick got going on. I understand the movement. Shout outs to everybody how he doing it. But I'm OVO.
I'm never
It's a whole
coming
lot
back
of
to this
it's a whole
question
lot of
again.
us on this side of it's a whole lot of us
It's always Drake.
on this side.
We were doing so good. Everything was so good. And then we're here with Drake.
Yeah, man. You ever been to a
I
Drake
can't
night?
even be mad because this is my question, but I'm going to leave it alone. So
You
tell me about your rap career. I'm going to tell you, I found it. I found you rapping on the internet.
Some said that I never would blow. They said that bad luck would follow me wherever I go. But now it's paper in my pocket, racing coops topless. A lot of double G's and LVs in my closet.
Mhm. Yeah, that's cool. If you type in Goldie underscore H, you'll get everything. But yeah, no, I was real good at rapping. I was the crazy part is my 15-year-old son was like, Dad, I'm trying to learn how to freestyle. And I was like, what, like rap off the top? I'm like, you just gotta practice. It's just a skill set that you gotta develop, learning and practicing. I'm like, I used to have composition books and write down raps and be mad if I lose my composition or if somebody read my raps. When I first started rhyming, I was young. I would go outside and ask my homies, like, hey, did y'all hear Mace's new verse? And they'd be like, no, and I'll rap it, and they'd be like, where's that at? That's hot. And I'd be like, oh, that was me. You liked it? You know what I mean? Just to get approval. And then I actually started getting more exposure and getting good. And I really took it to heart. This is how hard I took it, right, Miss Rhonda? My mom used to say, if you take anything else serious the way you take this rap, you'll be all right. That's what my mom used to say to me. So I got good at it. I um I just think the overall cycle and pattern of being in the streets, rhyming about the streets, glorifying the wrong thing. It kind of kept me in a pattern in a cycle myself, to where as though I was outside actually doing a lot of crazy stuff, Miss Rhonda. So once my friend got killed, it wasn't that I didn't have the love for rhyming. I just didn't have the love for being in that environment no more and giving that energy to something that I know um, contributes to at least holding me back. So, but I love rap. I love everything about the creative
Okay.
aspect of it.
Well, now you're a businessman, and you've been in business with your health and wellness for 7, 8 years. How long have you been in business?
So the shop was open 7 years, but I've been doing this for 12 years in my community. So yeah, the physical brick and mortar was 7 plus years, but the overall impact in where I'm from is going on 13 years. So that kind of made it easier when I opened up a shop because I already had a huge community and people that understood what the mission was. And till this day, with other things going on, I think community is a huge impact where I'm from because you don't see too many people like us, helping people like us without, everybody wants to be the man, everybody wants to be him. Nobody really wants to help them out. So just helping people for the past 10 years plus, it feels great when I go places and people like, yo, I've been to your workout, or you helped me out, or people know you for doing good. Because like I said, I was on the complete opposite of the spectrum. So businessman, yes, I became a businessman because what my passion and purpose was actually turned into a business.
Which that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because it doesn't
Talk
feel like
about the
work.
midnight run a little bit. Tell the people what that's all about.
About the midnight run. So the midnight run established uh 2014, and it really came about because it was like our people like to turn up, you know, and the theme was too much turning up, not enough toning up. And it was like, I just want to introduce more of our people, minorities, to a healthy, active lifestyle. So I was like, yo, let's just do something fun at night, glow sticks. I see folks doing it all over the world. Let's do it where we from, but let's get our people. Let's get our resources and get our people. And I remember the first time we did it, a lot of party and club promoters were posted on Instagram like, who the hell is responsible for this midnight run? And I remember the cops even trying to stop it, saying like, who's responsible for this riot? And it ended up just being a major impact for my business, for my community, and just a staple. You know what I mean? To where it's those annual now. And this will be the first year that the city granted us permits and other things, backing us with councilman help and stuff like that. But this has been all from the muscle. And like I told them before, like if y'all don't back it, it's still gonna happen. You know what I mean? But it'd be nice to be in city compliance and for y'all to back it because it's really up to Ali of what y'all stand for. You know what I mean?
Why don't you turn it to something so much bigger with
For
with
sure.
support rather than just
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So it's a lit event. It's a run, walk, jog. It's 5K, 3 miles, mile and a half down, mile and a half back. We take the pick, a lot of music, vendors. It's just lit. It's just at nighttime and just creating. I like creating memories. I like creating impact. And I already know what this event is going to do from the first one till now, because I'm not surprised when I put my best foot forward with promoting and putting something together how it turns out. So when I put my best foot forward every day, I'm not surprised that I'm able to run marathons and I'm able to help kids inside of juvenile centers and transitional homes, and I'm able to be like the best dad, the best example for my children. So these are all just small steps turning into a big journey.
how do your kids feel about exercise? Do they love it or do they hate
Who
it?
who 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 loved it?
Your kids.
No, because I mean they were surrounded around it so much. It's so normal for them that both of my sons are athletes. You know, my daughter is so much of a leader. It's just so many quality. I don't push nothing on them. I push them to be the best version of themselves. Um, and back whatever play that they want to do. But they don't hate it. Because I'm not like a drill sergeant. I'm dad. I'm fun dad.
Okay. And so now you got the Wave podcast.
Wave podcast. Yeah.
Tell me
So
about that.
yeah. So that just dropped. And now, listen, can I tell you how much I smiled when you posted the? Because I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, look at me as Scorpion. I screenshot it and sent it to everybody. I'm like, look at me as Scorpion, y'all. I'm like, this was before it dropped. I was like, this joint dropped like tomorrow. I can't wait to watch it. Oh my God. When I watched it, I was first of all, I was happy that finally I was getting some good review. And finally people were seeing me for who I actually am. Right? Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. Because I sat there and I was like, thank you so much. Thank you for noticing that and putting that together. But when you dropped the podcast, oh baby, I got goosebumps. I was like, that was so hot for me because this is my new baby. This is something I'm working on. This is something that's dear to me now because I didn't want to just do anything. I didn't want to just come off as like a clout chasing, like I was looking for that. I really wanted to have substance and healing conversations. People been asking me and egging me to do it before, way before the show, just off the strength of what I do. But I felt like um, I got a book about to drop and I got other things that I'm putting together. So I said this would be a great platform to give other people a voice, let them tell their stories, and you know, honestly, just keep it up with my creativeness, how I like to be creative, because you can do endless things with a podcast and streaming services. So I just look forward to what can be created in the future, and then also so many people reached out to me that probably didn't know my story. Well, a lot of people reached out to me that didn't know my story, but a lot of people reached out to me to share things that happened to them, and these are like local celebrities and people that people know. So I'm like, thank you, God, because it just gives me affirmation. It gives me confirmation that I'm doing the right thing and I'm heading in the right direction. And that right there, Miss Rhonda, has been my overall GPS. Just making sure I feel good with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So, Wave Podcast. I'm
Well,
excited.
I'm officially subscribed.
Yep. Thank you so much. And I
I can't
subscribe
wait
back to you.
to see what's next. I am
Yep.
for sure. I'm
New
going to have the link in the description box, so everybody that sees this interview will then go over to the Wave podcast because there's so much more. It's such a good story. I want to end here with you. Can you give a word of advice to the people who may be going through the transition part of their journey and from darkness into the light? What would you tell that person, in order to stay strong?
If you don't change, nothing else will. Things that's happening to you right now is happening to you so you can identify it and it never happens again. And when it do, and if it ever does appear again, you know how to handle it. Don't ask yourself why. Just give it to God. It's easier said than done. Just practice giving it to God. We go everywhere. We give everything that we give so much energy and time to everything and everybody else. Give it to God. Practice your relationship with whoever your creator is. Because at the end of the day, in order for things to change, you got to change. My life changed because I did. I didn't know what to do. I was just putting my best foot forward. I got tired of eating Hot Pockets for dinner. I got tired of, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I got tired. The man that I was at the time. So it's just like, it's something that my mom said, and there's layers to this. And it's an old saying, but it really resonates more than ever. And my mom said this my whole life. She said, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. And what I equate that to is how you do anything is how you do everything. If I want to be good, if I want to be best, if I want to give my best on the podcast, I got to be good. If I want to have the best results physically, I got to get good at working out. If I want to be the best at rapping, I got to get good first. Once you get good, then another level is gonna emerge better. And once you stay on that consistent level for a minute, then you'll be able to give them your best. And then once you get past best, then here comes good again, because now you got another level of climbing where you got to get good again. I was good as a parent to a 4-year-old, 12-year-old, but then I had to get good to a parent to an 18-year-old. And then once you get good, better, best, then it's another level. So it's just knowing that it's a never-ending game of developing and working on yourself. And if you don't know how, just get with somebody. Get with somebody, have some uncomfortable conversations, and get unstuck. Because a lot of times it's hard for us to move forward when we stuck and we stick and we keep these stories going on in our head. For so long, I had these stories going on in my head until I was able to just let go of these stories and start painting on a blank canvas and creating the life that I want, where I can have everything that I want, Miss Rhonda. And people just got to realize that on the other side of fear, on the other side of doubt, they can have whatever it is that they want. And I know it sounds cliche. I know it sounds like I have a dream. I know it sounds like a Disney movie. That's because it is. It's magic. It's magic behind putting your best foot forward and giving it to God. And it's easier said than done. It just takes practice. It just takes practice. Becoming 1% better every day. Not beating yourself up. And like you said, giving yourself grace. You know why? Because you've never been here before. Whether you're 31, 32, 44, 55, whatever your age, wherever you're at in your journey, you've never been here before. Give yourself some grace. You have experiences, everything that you've been through. You've been through it for a reason, to become stronger. Give yourself some grace. Write these things down that you want. Have healthier habits of going at it. Because once you put out in the atmosphere what you want, God going to test you to see if this is what you really want and what you're doing to go after it. That's it.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you for having this platform.
All right, Mr. Naeem.
Thank you for having me. Tell your other constituents I said hi. All right. Tell them I said hi and I'm not a bad guy.
Listen, I can guarantee you that they will be in the chat on Tuesday.
Okay, cool. Tell them I said hi and I'm not a bad guy, even though, yeah. Because they say, you got a soft spot for baby moms. I guess so. You out here making them. I'm like, damn. I'm like, I have no rebuttal for that.
Yeah, this is Naeem Turner. Come talk to him. You know they'll be there. Naeem, thank you again for being here. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Check out the Wave podcast. The link will be in the description box. And yeah, we out, y'all.
We out.
This one for the G's, and this one for the hustler. This one for the hustler. Now back to the G's. This one for the G's, and this one for the hustler. This one for the hustler.